too much money here. I mean, nobody should be hitting lotto for 36 million and we got people starving in the streets. That is not idealistic. That's just real. That is just stupid. There's no way Michael Jackson should have, or whoever Jackson, should have $1 million, $1 billion, and then there's people starving. There's no way. There's no way that these people should own planes and their people don't have houses, apartments, shacks, drawers, pants. I know you're rich. I know you got $40 billion, but can you just keep it to one house? You only need one house. And if you only got 2 kids, can you just keep it to 2 rooms? I mean, why have 52 rooms and you know there's somebody with no room? It just don't make sense to me. It don't. And then these people celebrate Christmas. They got big trees, huge trees, all the little trimmings. Everybody got gifts, and then somebody's starving. And they're having a white Christmas. They're having a great Christmas, eggnog and the whole nine. That's not fair to me. I'm a double them, but give me more.
Welcome back to the channel, and I hope you all are having a great day. So that was a video from Tupac Shakur, and I'm pretty sure most people know who Tupac Shakur is or have heard of him. This famous rapper, activist, very complicated individual, right? But as you can see from this clip, a very human-centered, aware individual, right? And so at some universities, I believe they even study some of his lyrics. And, you know, listening at a clip like that, we can understand why there was this focus on someone like Tupac Shakur. But also, you know, this world that we live in and the complexities of our socio-economic systems and understanding why we do the things we do, why things don't make sense and why certain things do. There does lie somewhere in the mix common sense. When we think of ideas like capitalism and the freedom to be greedy in capitalism, and this being a byproduct of capitalism, but being considered good by most of the world, as most of their arguments are what the alternative is, and the alternative is always predicated on some type of diabolical, evil mentality that, if it looks out for the world, it then controls the world, right? That's always going to be the antithesis to many of these ideas about whether you talk about something like money and capitalism or socialism or communism. You know, whatever you're talking about is going to go to that certain level. Now, you know, what Tupac got is you know, I think what also can put Tupac, you know, as a important figure to the world is that his thought process is mirroring many great minds and other great thinkers. Like if you look at somebody like Dr. Martin Luther King, his observation to this and the importance that he would put on this, much like Tupac would be a focus. And people like Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King, championed ideas like the guaranteed income, the guaranteed basic income, you know, which many of us translate today as some type of universal basic income. But let's make it even a little bit more sense, right? Just from the perspective maybe Tupac was coming from. Let's imagine a restaurant, right? And for the food in this restaurant to have value, you have to set a price to this food, right? Now, what would happen is, because you're now tied up to this system where you have to put a currency or a price to the food in order for you to get the food, what happens at the end of the night for you to get the food is that even if the food is going to no longer be fresh food or food that they can sell for the same price that evening, they're either going to have to throw it away. They can't just give it away oftentimes. Although I think some of them do that, but excuse me, there are sometimes it's going to the dumpsters. It's having to be thrown out, right? In order to keep with that idea to have a market, to have this capitalist market, you can't just give the food away, because by doing that, then giving away something free and something dependent on scarcity and the model of scarcity, try to give it away free, it has no value, right. And so now they're stuck in this vicious cycle that in order to preserve the capitalist system, you got to now do things that don't make sense, right? Like let millions of people starve if necessary to preserve the integrity of the market, right? So it's a very very almost backward, illogical thought process and system, right? It certainly can't be the best system when you think of it in terms like that. The other thing is, um, you can listen to this interview with Tupac, and you might come to a certain conclusion. Well, Tupac pointed out some very concerning issues, but he didn't necessarily advocate for universal basic income like Tupac doesn't in this, in this clip. Whether he thought about it or not, he doesn't come out then and just say, well, it would just make more sense to give these people the money, right? To give the poor. You have more than enough, right? There's no need for the scarcity model where in that case it wouldn't exist. In the case of the family of five with a 52-room mansion, right? The scarcity does not exist in the space, right? Because there are 52 rooms, there are only five people living there, right? The scarcity doesn't exist in the ability, as Tupac brought out, for one person to control billions upon billions of dollars, and then the next person just starves to death simply based on the uh, compilation and uh, 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 the system, how it's structured in order for it to function, right? In other words, you can't have it to where one guy has $1 billion here, and you have 50 other billion in the pool, and you just go, oh well, it just makes sense to give everybody in the pool several $1 billion, right? No, because then in this, it would throw off the math of the system, right? Because now what you have is you have all these people holding $1 billion, and then that $1 billion against everybody's $1 billion would in a sense become cashless, because the money wouldn't be important, as everybody would have a certain amount of value and wealth and so on and so forth, right? So it kind of would then translate to valueless. But from a logical standpoint, to a certain great degree, that would still make more sense than the proposition of um, just then throw out the food, right? For lack of a better analogy. Just don't give them the food, because if you give them the food, then it kills all incentive for them to go out and do what we need them to do to earn the food, right? But of course, that creates a conundrum in itself as well, because there has always existed the abundance of the resources, right? When we look at something like energy, one of my favorite examples is we have this giant nuclear reactor, floating out there in space that supplies us all this energy, and it doesn't cost us anything, right? Provides us warmth, it makes our food grow, right? It makes our species thrive and survive. And there is no price to that, right? It's just supply. But you know, have you ever sat down and thought about this, right? Does it make sense, right? What we're doing, how we've created the currencies, right? And let's keep it there, because currency is such an important part of this. Let's keep it there just for a second so we can understand, what we're talking about here with not only just Tupac's viewpoints, but what they mean exactly. Like, what would Tupac's solution be then? We know what it wouldn't be, right? But what would it then, through the process of elimination and deduction, what could it be if it couldn't be the world and the systems we've created now? So when we think of currencies, currencies are going to be one of the easiest ways to deal with socioeconomic issues, right? Oftentimes, the most fastest effective way to handle a problem will be some type of direct cash injection. And I think that's why universal basic income is so appealing many times when we're faced with this problem, simply because of the fact it is one of the easiest things to do, yet one of the most effective things to do, right? Other effective ways to do that is like what we're seeing here in the Bitcoin MYK project, which is a universal basic income or guaranteed basic income project. And it uses cryptocurrency, blockchain technology to achieve that, right? Now, how it works isn't as important as what it can accomplish, and basically just how understanding how basically how money works, right? And although there are many complexities to that, we know the effectiveness of what happened over the years when we went from currencies and digital banking, from bartering systems, and not being able to protect or secure your resources and money, right? So we do understand the importance of those things, and this blockchain technology allows many of these things to happen, but it is also able to generate value that is then dispersed back to the participants in this system. And I think ideas like this is what not only creates economic prosperity, but can help to make sense of a system much like how Tupac saw as a very ridiculous system, a system that doesn't value human beings as it should, when human beings have always been more valuable than the currency itself. And somehow this shell game switched things around. But the great minds, uh, the people who bring light to the world, and although Tupac was a very complicated character, the one thing he wasn't, I think, complicated about, and what made a lot of sense, was what he said about how people uh, how we view the world and the things we do. And so, hopefully this gets some people to really search what exactly they're trying to accomplish here, and which of these systems really makes much sense. Because as we can see with Tupac, it made very little sense at all. But that's all I want to say in the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you love content like this. Also, if you really want to live in a better world, and a world that makes sense, for yourselves and your families and your communities, then it probably is time that we did take a serious look on addressing these problems of inequality, or to be wealth wise, or even just doing a deep dive into whether the systems we've created for mankind make sense. Do they really make sense? Who are they helping? How many are they helping? Let's dig into the information. And what does it say about us, as a people that accept these systems and discard others, right? So it might be time for some soul searching. It might be time for some as well logical deduction. But I think we can come up with things that make a lot more sense than systems we have now. So give bitcoinmyk.com a try. Feel free to ask questions or comments or concerns if you have any. A lot of people come into ideas of blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies and things like that. First thing they think about is scam, or there is some type of scam happening. But we have to remember too as well that technologies have come on the scene and brought a lot of prosperity to mankind. But there have been those technologies that have either been misused or that have been used for the wrong purposes, or whatever the case may be. We cannot throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? It's not either or, right? These systems can actually work and make mankind's lives better. You can actually do these things, as well as it can actually be misused and not work. So let's keep all that in mind. Let's bear it in mind. But that's all I want to say in the video. Make sure you take care of yourselves and each other. All right.